Welcome into the DePaud, DePaul Hoops podcast brought to you by Homefield. Go check out homefieldapparel.com today and pick up your fresh, new Blue Demon gear using promo code DePaud at checkout. Go check out homefieldapparel.com and get 15% off your first purchase with the promo code DePaud at checkout. Homefield has the finest, high quality, throwback DePaul gear that you can find at homefieldapparel.com. Use promo code DePaud at checkout. On today's show, we've got a short interview with DePaul commit about to go through his National Signing Day. Isaiah Medina over at Gibbs High School. Got to talk to him for a few minutes. So looking forward to sharing that with you. And then after that, we've got Andy Thompson. He's the guy who's taking photos for me during the games this year. We're going to talk about the Prairie View A&M game and the Mercer game and what we've got to look forward to tonight. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, Blue Demon Nation.
Look to his shot.
Spins, fade away. Yes, sir-ree! Chandler hits the three.
Oh, tough shot. Giving it up to Reed.
All right, welcome in. I'm joined today by DePaul four-star recruit out of Gibbs High School in Florida, Isaiah Medina. Isaiah, thanks for taking the time to join me tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So I want to ask some questions about how you ended up committing to Coach Holtman and DePaul. But first, I want to hear about you, your game. So what got you started in when you decided you wanted to play basketball?
I started playing basketball in 9th grade. Yeah, I started playing basketball in 9th grade. I always played football when I was younger, so I got really tall, and I just gave basketball a try. My freshman year, and ever since then, I just fell in love with the game.
So what was there any player or anyone that you started to look up to that you wanted to emulate your game after when you started playing basketball?
Oh yeah, I look up to Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and Giannis.
Nice. So when you first were being recruited by Coach Holtman, what was the first thing that you thought of when you first met him, first started talking to him?
He was a great coach. Great coach coming from Ohio State. So I already knew he was already a coach that's used to winning, that's used to getting people to college, and etc.
Nice. So before we go, deeper into DePaul and that, I wanted to know how your season's going at Gibbs. How is this your senior season going?
My senior season is going really good. We've been practicing really hard. Our first preseason game is next Monday, and our first game is November 28th in Chicago. So we go way up there to Chicago and play our first game.
Who are you all playing up here?
We play some team from Missouri. They're from Missouri, but we're gonna meet them in Chicago to play them.
That's awesome. That'll be cool. So we should definitely get some Blue Demon fans out to that game if there's public access.
Yes, sir.
Nice. So Chicago and DePaul, what was it on your visit that made you want to come here?
Everything was just so nice. Everything was just so nice. I love the area, the weather how it was right then, and the cold weather, how it's going to change. I'm kind of used to it a little bit, but I'll have to get back used to it because I haven't been in cold weather in a long time. So yeah, but nice. I really like the downtown and everything. The food was really great. That's really popping got me right.
What did you guys get some deep dish pizza up here?
We got a little bit of everything. Really.
Nice. What is the big, like, the most, aside from, Chicago and Coach Holtman, what was the biggest attraction for you? Maybe it's Big East, maybe it's playing, at Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament. What was it about this opportunity that really drew you here?
I feel like it was the biggest level. Like I had other offers, but I feel like it was like the biggest level and the most comfortable position for me.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think there's a lot happening here at DePaul, and I think that I think the fans will be excited to get to see you play, get to see you really grow and develop here at DePaul. Um, Last question: if you when you get to DePaul, what's your goal? What's your goals for yourself as far as your development in your game?
Um, my goals are just to get better day by day. I want to be able to be a leader when I get up there. Um, I want to be able to get not myself better, but the whole team, like everybody. I want to get everybody better. Um, and I want to be able to like just go to the tournament, be able to go to the tournament. I want to be able to make DePaul great, like turn DePaul around. How Yeah, just do what I gotta
I
do.
think you'll have a great opportunity for that, especially the Big East is a big man's league too. Was there anything as far as that goes? Seeing some of the guys that came out of the Big East, Klingon in the past couple of years. Klingon is one of them, and then a couple of the other big guys from the other schools, uh, giving you the opportunity to really make a name for yourself here.
Yes, sir. I've been seeing some of the big mans from the past years, and I could definitely follow their steps.
And you did say earlier, you model your game a little bit after KD, Giannis. Actually, watching some of your video, some of your highlights, I noticed that you actually have a pretty smooth shot from three. Have you been working on that?
Oh yes, sir. I be on a shooting gun almost every day.
Nice, nice. I think everyone here is looking forward to having you come to town and really make a name for yourself. I personally am looking forward to seeing how your game develops here at DePaul. I appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to getting to know you a little bit more as time goes on. So thanks again for joining me, Isaiah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem.
All right, welcome into the pod. We've got Andy Thompson here. We're talking DePaul basketball, last game versus Prairie View A&M, and looking forward to tonight's game versus Mercer. Thanks for taking the time, Andy. Let's get your thoughts on that last game versus Prairie View.
Yeah, so I mean, the overarching thing for me was that, in the first game, I kind of thought, it looked a bit like we did have 13 new guys out there. But in this game, I saw a lot more chemistry, especially between some of the guys in the backcourt and the front court. Like you mentioned, there were a lot of dunks in that game, which is something we didn't see at all. And I'd love for the free throw numbers to be a little closer to this game versus the first one. So those were two things that jumped out immediately. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of positives to take away from this game. Still some role allocation to figure out, obviously, and there's no CJ Gunn, so we'll have to see how he kind of plays in. But yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about from this game, and we can kind of take it wherever you want to go. But looking forward to working with you this season, and I appreciate you having me on. And we'll excited to see what we're going to get up to and what the team's going to get up to.
Yeah. I guess I kind of buried that a little bit. Andy Thompson's going to be taking pictures for the DePaud and for our Substack here. So definitely thank you for that, Andy. But let's let's talk about that. You mentioned the free throws, and we realized that game one versus Southern Indiana was kind of an aberration. Even Coach Holtman said that he doesn't expect that to ever happen again. Maybe some nerves getting off the first game, and really just getting their feet under them at Wintrust. They were 23 for 27 second game versus Prairie View A&M. You really like to see that, some sort of improvement, something that we're not used to seeing, building off of some successes and building on some opportunities for improvement from game to game. What did you see there that you really liked?
So I think, one of the games we're going to see improvement, or one of the things we're going to see improvement in is just like continued chemistry being formed between that front court and that back court, kind of like I talked about, like just whether that's, guys being able like Layden or Connor Enright to be able to get in and kick the ball out to Skogman for a three, or whether that's like Enright or Blocker or even Meyer being able to get the ball into a Skogman or a Benson or a Trainer for a dunk, just things like that. We're going to see more of those like sort of sets and set plays kind of be strung together, because I think the guys are kind of trying to find each other out there. We're trying to get familiar with each other, because obviously besides a couple of the guys seeing each other in the MVC, we haven't had these guys haven't had reps and minutes of each other outside of practice. So just I think we're going to continue to see some of these individual chemistries between two or three players form, and that'll kind of spread to the whole team mindset when they're out there of like they're going to know where each other's at and where the ball is going to end up going.
Yeah, and in that Prairie View A&M game, we saw some of that shine through a little bit. There was a lot of ball movement, a lot more ball movement than I remember from any DePaul team that I've watched. But that's obviously a little bit of recency bias. But I mean, just some of the interior passes to get to the big man down low to put the ball away in the hoop. Nice, few nice alley oops. And I think that we're going to see that put to the test too with Mercer. I mean, trying to look forward a little bit here. They're a very athletic team, very fast-paced team with Chris Ritter as the head coach for Mercer. That's something that he kind of likes to do. That's his MO, so to speak. But looking forward to this game, I think we need to see a little bit better 3-point shots. Looking at some of the shot charts, the corner three has been a little bit of an Achilles heel for the team. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's more just, guys are kind of trying to find their stroke again. Guys like Layden, who kind of, I know last year in the SEC, he was, in the limited minutes he got, he was kind of like putting up shots from anywhere he was able to get them. And so I think he's just kind of trying to find his rhythm, because guys like him from the corner kind of struggled in the game. I think, guys like D'Amico are going to find it a little more too. But the other thing that I kind of want to see, and something that I was glad we saw in the last game, is I want to see guys like Benson, talking about getting the ball inside and being more aggressive. I want to see guys like Benson be able to kind of put to the test some of the things they learned in the last game, because I tweeted out there, I put it out there on Twitter during the last game, like Prairie View A&M, because they're a much scrappier team and they know the talent level is obviously significantly lower than ours, they were at some points triple teaming him. And he was still, he was getting the ball up there. He was getting to the foul line. He was making smart moves on the defensive end, getting rebounds. I just think even little things like that, like you mentioned corner threes, and I think, that is one of the things we're going to have to get better at picking our spots, where like maybe we do move the ball inside to a guy like Benson, or we kick it back out to Layden or Connor up at the top of the key so we can get some of that ball movement going. But I just think you'll even moving inside, like a guy like Benson is going to be a big part of this game, where, they're going to try to, obviously attack us on defense, and they can get out and run their transition offense that makes them such a lethal team. Because I think they put up 125 points, correct, in their last game?
125 points versus Virginia Lynchburg, a D3 school. But, I mean, it's there. They've got the skill. They've got the talent. It's not a team to be overlooked. And, I think they're a lot like us, where they've got a lot of new players. They're trying to find their own, and similar to us. And they're gonna really they're gonna have that chip on their shoulder, because they play like a team that's got nothing to lose, coming out of the SoCon, going into a Big East, home away game. So I think we're in for a dogfight tomorrow, or tonight, I should say, and I do that all the time. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be a fun game, fast paced, and it'll just be another opportunity for DePaul to show what they've done, what they've been working on, and show that they're not going to be a bottom feeder in the Big East anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you look around the rest of the league, like we're kind of starting to find ourselves at a time where, there's some other teams in the league that have kind of, I don't want to talk down in the league as if we haven't, been towards the bottom the last couple of years. But you look at teams like Villanova and Butler and Seton Hall that have all dropped, games in the opening week. And if we want to start to move up in the Big East, these are the kinds of games we have to take seriously because, some of our opponents are dropping these games, obviously, which, they're all finding themselves as well. But, we've got a unit full of a lot of guys that are hungry, a lot of guys that came from spots where they've won. And, that experience, I think, is going to have to start shining through as we start getting, further into some of these non-conference games and kind of, start getting tighter with each other and being able to move the ball up and just limit some of these turnovers too.
Yeah, and in a game like this going into Mercer, it's like I almost feel like there's going to be like hockey line changes happening just because of just the blistering pace that the game's going to be moving in, and that offers opportunity for turnovers, that offers opportunity to create turnovers as well. So just being able to maximize your offensive opportunities and making, getting second chance looks or limiting their second chance looks, I think it's got to be a focus. I mean, you see Connor Enright diving to the ground. He's always first to the ground. I think I really like, D'Amico, he likes to back tap it. I've seen that quite a bit actually in the past, these two games.
That stuck out against, not to cut you off, but stuck out against Prairie View A&M he was like, even if he couldn't get the ball, he was like making sure he was the first one with his hand in there to kind of kick it back out to an Enright or a blocker, and then the whole possession would start over.
Yeah, and you're kind of already
haven't seen it previously.
Yeah, and you're kind of already starting to see like different roles on the team take, each guy take a different role on the team, and it's really just, who knows what the rest of the season brings, but it's really just kind of like refreshing to see a DePaul team that has guys that are thoughtfully put in a position to succeed, and and credit to the players as well. Like they're executing so far, 2 games in, but they're executing. Obviously with Southern Indiana, you wanted to see a bigger win there, but you just told me a few minutes ago when we weren't recording, Southern Indiana, they took their second game to overtime as well. So they're a scrappy team, right? Like they're no slouches.
No, I mean, they were obviously visited the DePaul podcast, but they were picked, I think, 7th or 8th in the OVC, and they've already taken their first 2 games to overtime. That doesn't scream that low of a finish in the Ohio Valley to me. So I think combined with our free throw aberration, I think that's just kind of, we'll move past that. As long as you learn something from that game, it's still in the W column for us. And you were talking about guys that are kind of being thoughtful and putting themselves in positions to win and putting our teams in position to win. There was a tweet that DePaul put out where I wasn't aware of this. We had 2 guys log 7 or more assists, Enright and Blocker, for the first time in a game since 2012. And then looking at our rebounding stats from the last game, you had four guys get 6 or more rebounds, and that's Blocker with 6, Trainer with 8, Meyer with 6, and Benson with 9. I don't remember, and I don't have this off the top of my head, but I don't remember the last couple of years where you had, even in some of these non-conference games, guys fighting for boards quite at that high of a level. So this team is doing their best to get out there and really make sure that we put ourselves in a position to win and, get the ball to their teammates or get the ball for themselves out in transition. We haven't seen something like that in a couple of years, and I think you're already going to see signs of that, and we're going to build off of it,
Yeah, and it's really kind of cool to see the pace that Coach Holtman's pushing. And I know one of the knocks, I think, at Ohio State was that he doesn't really run offensive sets. And I kept hearing that. I'm like, what do you like? Just looking at these first 2 games, I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, maybe I didn't watch enough Ohio State games, but like, and whatever. But like, these are really like top tier like offensive sets that I'm seeing, and they're maybe not top tier, but like they're up there. I mean, they're really nice ball movement, focus on getting open shooters, focus on getting a trailer coming through the lane to get an easy bucket down low. Like I've been pleasantly surprised at what we've seen so far with 13 brand new guys. So, as we get further into the season, they get minutes logged in game time scenarios. I'm really excited for Big East play, especially with what we've seen so far from some of our counterparts. Did I lose you?
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't really touched on this yet. I guess the one thing that even Holtman's mentioned, so I'll say it as well. I think the one thing that we kind of have maybe some concern about is rim protection. But, you've got guys like Benson and Trainer that have been fighting for it that, weren't projected to maybe get as big of minutes. And we'll see how they kind of progress throughout the season. But, the pieces are definitely there to be a feisty team in the Big East and to be able to make some noise in ways that we haven't in perhaps several years. So I think it's a work in progress for sure, but I think it's interesting to see how the guys kind of build off the chemistry they've started to form. Because as I said earlier, it's obvious, like in game 1, it looked like we had 13 new guys out there, but in game 2, it looked like the guys were starting to find each other, get more familiar with where each other were on the floor, and kind of get those assist numbers up and start passing in ways that we haven't seen guys be able to do in several years in a Blue Demon uniform.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to paint this as like everything's going so swimmingly well. We definitely do need more rim protection. We do need those guys to step up. We need Skogman to get right, because I guess he's had a little bit of a knee that he's been working through, and be a little bit more aggressive down low. And then, you've got a 3-headed monster there with Benson, Skogman, and Trainer. And I think we already kind of knew that Skogman isn't really like a shot blocker, but he's been trying. And we've seen, he had a couple of blocks, I think, in the first game, and then, limited minutes in the second game. And Benson, from game 1 to game 2, it was night and day. His footwork looked a lot better. He looked a lot more confident. Maybe it was just nerves, first game, new place. You never know. Maybe it was just a matchup problem. And then JJ Trainer, I think he's looked excellent, being able to help stretch the floor as well, just like why you have Skogman in there. And he brings a little bit more athleticism to that position as well. It'll be interesting to see how those rotations work and how those the lineups work as the season gets on, and against some of the different opponents. I know Seton Hall, they've got a bigger guy down low. And then, as you get into Big East play, you just never know. Like those big men usually come to play for Big East play. And I just want to see how these guys develop for that. But that said, I think Mercer tomorrow, they worry me down low, because it seems like from those 125 points, I think their starters played like half the game. That's just how it went. Just looking at the minutes on KenPom. But I'm worried about the athleticism of their bigs, and we'll see how that translates tomorrow. But what are your thoughts, on if Skogman's healthy? How much time do you think he gets tomorrow?
I think if he's healthy, I think you probably bump him up to 20 minutes, and maybe you see Benson and Trainer for about the same time. Because if you look at the minutes for Prairie View A&M, it looks like Skogman played 12 minutes, and then you had Benson and Trainer for 23 apiece. And I almost think there's going to be, if you're mentioning, these bigs are going to be a little more athletic than what we've seen against Prairie View A&M or Southern Indiana. I think you're almost going to want to experiment. Obviously, we know with some teams in the Big Ten, this hasn't always worked. And I know it's a different league than the Big Ten. We're in the Big East, obviously. But I almost wonder if maybe tomorrow's the game where you experiment with having two bigs on the floor at the same time, because Benson's the only one who hasn't really attempted a three. And we even know from warmups, like if he has to take one, he's all alone, he will take one and he can make them. Like obviously warmups don't matter, but if you watch, pregame, he's comfortable taking threes and he can drain a couple of them. So, obviously we have bigs that can stretch the floor. So even on offense, you can have one in the post, one outside, ready to get the ball kicked out to him. So I almost wonder if tomorrow's a game where you experiment with having two guys, whether that's Benson and Trainer, whether that's Trainer and Skogman, even though I think that's a bit redundant. But you just kind of experiment with some of that and see, like, are they able to coexist with each other in a game like this? Or maybe you're worried about some of that athleticism.
Yeah, one of the guys I am worried about is a guy from Chicago, actually. He's playing at Mercer. He transferred in from USC Beaufort. His name is Marcus Overstreet. He's a 6'9" sophomore, 220. Just I haven't been able to find much video on him, but he looks athletic. He looks the part, and definitely want to see how Benson and Trainer do against a guy like that. So, and Skogman for that matter. But yeah, I think we're in for a dogfight tomorrow, and I think that it'll be. I don't know. I'm always optimistic in these scenarios, but I am a little nervous. I can't lie, but just because of how this weekend went for Big East. It just seems to be like a bad omen, but only good vibes, only hopefulness from me right now. We're going to win the game. It'll be close, but we're going to win it. I think, Ken Palm has it at 6 points. Vegas has it at 7 points now because money's moving. What are your thoughts on how this game will turn out?
So I actually think the team that plays more under control is going to be the team that wins because, in the first game, obviously we toned it down a bit in the second game. But in that first game, I was even surprised. Obviously, you mentioned Holtman's previous teams not really playing with much pace or having many sets. Now, I was impressed with the sets in the first game, but I was a bit surprised at kind of how fast we did come out. Like, I think the first game, it was like 8-2 immediately, where like Rivera had a bunch of points and we were getting the ball up the floor lightning quick and just getting the ball inside, kicking it out to a 3-point shooter really, really quickly. And so I think they're going to try to it's obvious they're going to try to speed us up tomorrow, and we're going to have to speed them up so they turn the ball over. And I think whoever plays more under control tomorrow and doesn't, get sped up and make stupid unforced errors or stupid forced errors is going to be the one that wins tomorrow. And I think our guys hopefully have, kind of from the first 2 games experience, kind of learned how to play under control and play within themselves and find each other so that they can limit some of the turnovers that we had. Because I think for as many assists as we had in the last game, I think we did have somewhere in the vicinity of like 15 to 20 turnovers in that last game. So you want to kind of limit some of those and make sure that we're being like more responsible, more careful with the ball so that we're not letting a team like Mercer, who can play fast themselves, speed us up and then play the game their way.
I think to be fair, I think some of those turnovers happened later in the game when we were a little bit more comfortable and fell back and we're trying things out and dribbling a little too much and but overall I think you're absolutely right. That's how it's going to go. It's going to play out that way. Who plays in the most control, and I think with Enright and Blocker, the way they've been playing, so long as we could avoid the cramps that we've been seeing, we'll be all right. And I think, our guards have a little bit more experience than they do. So hopefully that's how it ends up. And we end up winning by at least 15 points.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also, the other thing that we haven't really talked about what I'm interested in is I think, a guy like Meyer, like obviously you mentioned they're going to have hockey line changes, so they're going to have guys coming in fresh. But I think a guy like a guy like Meyer actually serve us really well tomorrow because presumably he's not going to be in the starting lineup. I think he's probably got it pretty much ironed out where you've got Enright and Blocker starting, and then you're going to play like a guy like Rivera or D'Amico 3. And so I don't think you're probably going to see much of Meyer in the starting lineup. So I think him being able to come in and kind of run the show, because we've seen he can create for himself at will, or obviously Blocker and Enright are the main floor generals, but we've seen Meyer be able to get the ball inside of somebody or be able to lob it up for somebody. So I think him coming in and kind of leading that second unit is to set the tone too, because if they're going to be running these hockey line changes, like you mentioned, they're going to have a lot of guys coming in fresh at all times. So I think him playing under control and being able to kind of take control of that second unit for us is going to be crucial as well.
Yeah, no, I can't believe I didn't bring him up. I mean, he's been a really bright spot. There's been a lot of bright spots for this team, but yeah, Jacob Meyer definitely one of the brightest. I think, obviously 25 points in that Prairie View, the Southern Indiana game, and of course the shot that sent it to overtime.
Mm-hmm. And the free throws. Don't forget the free throws.
And the free throws. No, you're absolutely right. I can't believe I overlooked that and didn't mention it. That's a failure on my part. But he's been exciting to watch. Mm. He's definitely a score at will guy, and he comes as advertised. So hopefully we get more of that, and everyone's clicking on all cylinders tomorrow, and we leave Wintrust late at night with a. Not too late. There was too many lates, I think, for my liking. Now I'm going to be thinking about that all day. Hopefully we leave Wintrust late with a victory. So thanks again, Andy. I look forward to doing this more often with you. Maybe we'll break down DePaul win in a couple days from now.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll get more polished as the year goes on, and so will the team. Some of those early mistakes we've seen the first 2 games, it happens when you've got 13 new guys, and we have to be conscious of that. But hopefully, as the season goes on, we kind of start to see this chemistry form a little more, and Holtman will be able to really start getting the program trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm not really used to talking to someone else. It's a lot of me and my own voice in my head. So I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm looking forward to it as well. Thanks,
Yeah,
Andy.
for sure. Yep. See you tomorrow night.